This is a KFDI Severe Weather Alert.
This is George Lawson in the KFDI Weather Center, continuing with a severe thunderstorm warning for northeastern Sedgwick and west central Butler counties. We've had a storm moving across east Wichita, moving into Andover, and moving northeast at about 25 miles an hour, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts and quarter-size hail possible with this particular storm.
Tornado warning from the KFDI Weather Center. This is a tornado warning.
This is George Lawson in the KFDI Weather Center. We've had some reports of rotation and some people reporting funnels with this storm in east Wichita moving into Butler County. And now the National Weather Service has issued a tornado warning for east central Sedgwick County, western Butler County until 9 o'clock. Radar indicating rotation, but we've had some spotters report some funnel activity there. And we are watching this as it extends from east Wichita into Andover. We've also had reports of half-dollar size hail with this particular storm as it moves on to the northeast at about 20 miles an hour. So we had a new severe thunderstorm warning that was issued, again, for east central Sedgwick, western Butler County, but we've had these reports, and we've had a few people calling into the station here reporting that they're seeing some rotation with this activity. So now the National Weather Service confirms that, and radar indicating rotation with this particular storm. Again, it continues to track on to the northeast at about 20 miles an hour, and we will continue to keep an eye on this. Here is an update. A confirmed tornado located near Andover moving northeast at 20 miles an hour. Radar confirming a tornado here. We're looking at our picture on our weather partners at Storm Team 12, and they are showing a camera view of a tornado on the ground. Looks like it's out in open country east of Andover there. There is a little bit of a dust cloud that's coming up from this. So they do have a tornado touchdown with that storm. They've got one of their chasers out in the area, out in Andover, and he has been watching this. And it's a very thin rope tornado, very thin tornado, very difficult to see the funnel as it extends to the ground, but you can see the dust cloud. And this is, again, coming from a spotter camera presentation that KWCH is showing now on their weather channel. And I'm sure they're breaking into some live coverage here on Storm Team 12.
Anywhere along this leading edge of these lines of storms, there is the possibility that we could get another brief spin-up tornado, something that we're watching. And, of course, the storm of the moment that we've been looking at here over the course of the past 30 minutes or so is the one that has moved through eastern Sedgwick and into portions of Butler County. Again, as Ross mentioned, we're continuing to look at reports here behind the scenes of some potential damage there as those storms affected portions of Butler County. So we're going to continue to keep a close eye on this storm as it continues to push up toward the northeast. Ross.
And Peyton, thanks very much. Just kind of resetting everything here in south central Kansas again. For eastern Sedgwick County, the tornado warning has been dropped, but very much continuing for Butler County. We're looking at areas back to the west of El Dorado. You know, one of the big concerns for those of you watching our coverage is who's next in line and where is this thing at the present time? Well, we're still looking at an area along and to the north of the turnpike. We've also seen some areas that would be somewhat suspicious to the north of Augusta. We can give the all clear to Andover. It's now past that area, working its way through western sections of Butler County. So we're still continuing with our tornado threat here. It looks like it's to the southeast of Benton. There's some concern there. And then I've been looking at another area that's back here to the northwest of Augusta, but all of this east of Andover. So both north and south of the Kansas Turnpike, we have areas where we're seeing rotation. Now, Scott Roberts has been monitoring the situation, and he's saying that the funnel has lifted. Okay, so we do believe that the funnel has lifted. That report coming from Scott Roberts, who's been chasing with us for more than 10 years. And you're looking, for those of you listening on KFDI out and about this evening, for those of you in Butler County, at the moment, it does sound like the tornado has lifted. For those of you continuing with our coverage here on KWCH 12, the picture on the left part of the screen is from Scott Roberts. And again, we believe the tornado that had been on the ground for more than 10 minutes has lifted, but we are hearing reports of some damage. Of course, it's very early on. We don't know to what extent. We don't know of any possible injuries, but I will tell you this. The last thing we would want you to do tonight is get in your car and try to go out and start surveying damage, because we're getting in now on nightfall, so you're not going to be able to see. The emergency crews need to get in and assess the damage, try to figure out if people might be trapped, if they need some help. whatever recovery and rescue efforts need to happen, those need to take place first. Please do not try to go out, survey the damage for yourself, because in this situation, and Lance Ferguson reported this earlier, they were seeing some power flashes. So one has to think that given the fact that this storm traveling through a populated area, there's probably going to be some power lines down, and we just don't know whether or not those would still be live or not. So there's a lot of things that are going to be changing here as we go through the next several minutes. But at the moment, we want to stay with this tornado warning that does continue in Butler County. I'd be concerned about an area now approaching Augusta. The original circulation that was passed over the turnpike looks like that's gone now.
We will step away from coverage here at the current time. We have Josh Wells from Andover with us on the telephone right now, and Josh has witnessed a lot of the activity with this. And Josh, what can you tell us of the scene there in Andover?
Well, George, Andover does have damage from this tornado that went right through the city. It started touching down just to the west of Andover along Kellogg, from the best I could tell, maybe in Kellogg or maybe Andover Road and Douglas. It did stay to the east primarily of most of Andover, but it cut right behind. It would have cut right behind the trailer park, right behind Andover Central High School, and the Andover Central athletic facilities are still intact. We were watching it as it was on the ground and kicking up debris. It went through the Andover Park, the main park, the Andover Central Park there that's on Central, just about 3/4 of a mile or so, a half mile to the east of Andover Road is where it really started to pick up steam and do damage. It then proceeded almost straight north. There's a neighborhood that is just about a mile or so, inside of a mile, 3/4 of a mile, directly east of Andover Road on 13th Street. And that neighborhood has a lot of damage, and those are stick-built homes. Those homes are fairly new construction and have basements. When we were through there were a lot of power lines down. There's a high transmission line that was down, so we were not able to get through. But I can tell you that Wichita Police, Sedgwick County, and Butler County Sheriff, and, of course, Andover Police were arriving on the scene moments ago. Emergency crews there, too, ambulances and fire. For what I have seen so far, there does not appear to be any major injuries. But, again, emergency crews are just now getting on the scene. The rain has stopped here, George. A lot of debris. There's no power in the city of Andover. The entire city of Andover is without power. The power outage stretches just about 150, from what I can tell now, stretches from about 159th Street, which is the county line, all the way through the city of Andover, beginning at about Kellogg, stretching north to 21st Street. So it seems like I'm now on 21st at about 159th on the Sedgwick County side, and we have power, but just on the other side of the Sedgwick-Butler County line, they do not have power. Again, the tornado did do damage. It did damage stick-built homes. It stayed. What was ironic, George, here is we were just a couple of days from the tornado anniversary in 1991 of April 26th here in Andover, a day we all remember if you're from Andover, and it stayed just east of the trailer park. The difference of path was probably less than a mile difference from that path. But by and large, the city of Andover, right down the middle from about Kellogg to Central, is where this tornado was moving through. It had a debris cloud probably about a half mile west of Andover Road, and just to the north of Kellogg was where we first saw the tornado touch down, and it stayed in that form. Went right behind the Dillons area, stayed, I think, to the north of the YMCA, and then moved right through Andover Central Park and that area right through there. Again, I have not heard of any injuries, George. I'm sure there could be some minor injuries. We'll have to wait to see from emergency crews as they arrive. But what I can tell you is that emergency crews are on the scene, primarily along 13th Street, just to the east of Andover Road. And we saw Andover Police, obviously, Butler County Sheriff. We saw Sedgwick County Sheriff. We saw Wichita police officers.
Okay, thanks, Josh. And we do have that line of storms pushing through Sedgwick County right now with the new thunderstorm warning that's in effect, northeastern Sedgwick and west central Butler County. So another wave of weather. Our thanks to Josh Wells, former KFDI News reporter, for taking time with us to tell us of the situation in Andover and what he saw from this storm that moved through earlier. Justin Case with KFDI is here with us in the studio, and he has seen a lot of activity there in Andover as well.
The tornado was about 3/4 of a mile from my house. We got the alert. We went into the basement, but before I went downstairs, I went out onto the patio and could see the tornado coming towards our home. And not only that, you could hear it. It was churning. We had debris at our house in our neighborhood. And as I drove back to the radio station, I was coming down East Harry, right at South Andover Road, and there's damage there. There's some homes that clearly have damage. There was an RV or possibly a fifth wheel that had been turned over in the center of South Andover Road. This would be just south of the Dillons at Kellogg. And like Josh was saying, the tornado must have went right behind Dillons or right over the top of it. But as I continued on Harry towards the west, there's a couple of neighborhoods near South Heather Lake, and I think Whispering Lakes is in that area. There were some damage to homes there that you could see. Lots of emergency vehicles on the scene. They had the road blocked, and the lights, traffic lights were out as well. So it was an intense day, and I'll back up what Josh says. There is damage in Andover. How much, we don't know. A lot of the streets are blocked off right now.
And we've had no reports of any injuries at this point in time, but emergency crews are getting onto the scene. I'm seeing some photographs from our news partners at Channel 12 and seeing some cars up against buildings at a YMCA in Andover, and shattered windows and a shattered front there. The Dr. Jim Farha Andover YMCA, and it looks like devastation there at least at the front of the building. The front entrance there is what that looks like, and taken from a parking lot. So extensive damage, and we've seen some spotter video and chaser video. Initially, what we saw was from Channel 12, and it looked like the tornado, seen from a distance, was out in the open, and we could see that rope tornado with the debris cloud at the ground level. But then some other video has started coming out, and we've seen that tornado moving through, kicking up a lot of debris as it moved through Andover. Looking at Evergy's power map right now, we have a lot of scattered outages across East Wichita and also across Andover, and at least 500 or more customers affected, and this number may end up going into the thousands, but very scattered outages from East Wichita and even southeast Wichita. And it looks like this tornado went along Highway 54, north of 54, and right into Andover. And we were seeing that on the radar indication as well. We want to remind you our severe weather coverage on KFDI is a service of North Slope Roofing, and you're listening to our continuous coverage of the severe weather and tornado activity on KFDI FM Wichita.